everybody. Welcome to Unqualified. My name is Alex, and I'm unqualified to give you any advice, but I hope you listen anyway. This show's a little bit about everything, anything, and nothing all in between. I don't really have a problem with commenting on anything, so if you have a suggestion, send it to me at alexunqualified, ALX dot unqualified at gmail.com, and I will gladly comment and give my opinion on that topic. So I just wanted to put that there at the beginning of the episode. Anyway, let's rub the Italian horn and the chili pepper for some good luck because they actually might come for me, for real, on this one, for things that I'm going to say. Because we're going to talk about ASU, Arizona State University, the party school. You know, one of the number one party schools in Arizona, one of the number one party schools in the country. You know, when people hear ASU, they're like, oh, so the party school? I mean, even my dad hated the fact that I went to ASU. I went to ASU out of convenience because it's 45 minutes away from my house. I didn't go to ASU because ASU is such a great school. No, ASU literally sucks. ASU sucks. I'm going to say that right now. Do not send your kids to ASU unless you want them to be indoctrinated and discriminated against. I'm telling you that now. Okay? Is this thing on? Okay. So we're going to read an article about big name, what are they called? Big name donors are pulling their funds because they don't like the fact that ASU doesn't really stand for free speech. And I agree. I agree that they should be pulling as many funds as possible because ASU is all about indoctrination. I'm someone who knows. If you haven't seen my video, the I'm not woke, I'm awake, check it out. I'll put it in the description or I'll link it up here. But I went to ASU for 3.5 years. My senior year, I basically flunked because I got hit with a very, very, very big wave of depression, and my mental health was not the best, and I had to drop out. But for those who don't know, I have epilepsy. I have something that's called focal epilepsy with complex partial seizures, which means basically I have the kind of seizures where I don't have the grand mal seizures where you convulse. No. I just have the seizures where you just stare off into the distance and fall down because you obviously don't have control of your motor skills. So I would have seizures. We found this out. I had a seizure while driving, and I was driving on my way to school. I had a seizure, crashed my car. Thank God nobody got hurt. I didn't even get hurt. And I ended up having to move down to campus, which was just a 45-minute drive away from my house, but I had to move right across the street from campus. Now, keep in mind that this was right across the street from campus. Now, aside from the fact that 4 out of my 5 roommates were horrible to me and discriminated against me for having epilepsy, and they bullied me. For that, I will get into in another video. And when I brought that to the university's attention, they did nothing. They didn't reprimand the building manager. They didn't reprimand my roommates. They said, that's not our problem. Now, I went to Mayo Clinic and I was basically treated like a guinea pig, allegedly, for a whole entire year and a half while they were trying to figure out my medications and what medications would and wouldn't work for me. Now, this is hard to say. Just give me a second. And I like shooting these unedited, raw. At least, this portion of the video, I like shooting this raw and unedited. And, I take my time because I like to, connect with you guys. I don't like editing it too much. So just bear with me because this is very hard for me to say. I had a seizure one day where I fell down and I had a seizure for 15 to 20 minutes, which is very dangerous. And the thing is I can hear and see when I'm having seizures. So I can see, if my eyes are open, I can see what's going on around me for the most part, as long as I'm, for the most part, semi-conscious. And I can definitely hear what's going on. So sometimes people will come up to me and my parents, if they see me having a seizure, they'll come up to me and they'll hold me and they'll say, "Can you hear me?" And I'll grab their hand. But that's besides the point. I had a seizure on the sidewalk for 20 minutes and nobody helped me. They just let me lay there. And when I brought it to the university's attention, side note, it took someone who knew me, noticing me, to help me. And when I brought it to the university's attention, that, I understand it's the bystander effect. Everybody thinks someone else is going to do it. But when I said to the head of the university, the dean, I said, I have yet to see any seizure or stroke protocol around campus. And she said, "Oh, well, yeah, we don't have the funding for that." And I said, "You don't have the funding to print out paper and staple it or tape it to buildings? You don't have that funding? You don't have that manpower?" And then when I told them about the bullying, when I told them about my sorority hazing me, when I told them about my building manager being inappropriate, and trying to counsel me and my roommates, and even though my roommates were bullying me and discriminating against me for my epilepsy and my mental illnesses, they said, "That's not our problem." I can't believe they said, "That's not our problem." And the reason they said it, because legally, I lived in a building across the street from campus. The building wasn't owned by campus, and it was just across the street. But I had a seizure outside my building, and I got burns on my legs and arms because the sidewalk was so hot, because I live in freaking Arizona. And the bullying I experienced from my roommates, I'm going to tell you something really raw and disgusting. When I would have seizures and I would be on the floor, if I was in the way of my roommate, they would move me aside with their feet like I was nothing. I had this seizure once, and I fell in the bathroom and I fell into the bathtub, and I guess my roommate heard me. One of my roommates heard me, and she was fed up with my shit. She was fed up with the fact that I was having seizures all the time and that I was a stubborn person, and she was fed up with the fact that I was always so depressed and I was, my mental health was circling the drain, and she hated me for it. And she saw me trying to get up and she's like, "Let me help you." And I'm like, and I'm stubborn when I'm coming out of a seizure. I like to try and get up myself. And I was like, "No, no, no, I got this." And she's like, "Fine." And she watched me try to get up. I fell and I smacked my head on the toilet seat and she just left me there. Who does that? And people say, "How do you know all this? How could you know all this when you're having seizures and you're unconscious and all this kind of stuff and you're very unaware of what's going on?" And like I said, I am aware of what's going on when I'm having a seizure or when I'm coming out of a seizure. I'm very aware of my surroundings because for some reason, I don't know how, when I have seizures, I can hear what's going on around me and sometimes I can see, like I said earlier. But like I would see them moving me out of the way with their feet. And one of my friends caught them doing it. And they're like, "What are you doing?" Anyway, I just wanted to put that in there. I'm not releasing names of my roommates because I don't want them to come after me, but I am saying what they did, how they treated me, because it was wrong. And I deserve to tell my story. So I left the school because I felt discriminated against. And aside from that, and what we're going to get into in this article, I was a justice studies major. And even I recognize now that they are in the process then and now of indoctrinating their students into the left ideologies of democratic views, allegedly. But no, it's true. They are. And it's very scary. Gender ideology, critical race theory, sex is on a spectrum. Sex and gender ideology are on a spectrum. And you can be whatever you want to be. You can be a cat if you want to be. No, you fucking can't. I'm sorry, are you going to put litter boxes in bathrooms? That's disgusting. You know, it's it makes me really uncomfortable to talk about, but I wanted to talk about it because I want to bring awareness to it. So let's throw it to the screen and look at this article. Okay, guys? Okay, guys. So we have something from the AZ, the Arizona Times. So Arizona State University faces crisis as donor pulls money. Lawmakers probe free speech concerns. This is by Madeline Hubbard. Arizona State University is facing a crisis as lawmakers launch an investigation and at least one donor pulls his money over allegations the school is not supporting free speech. They don't. Ann Atkinson, executive director of the T.W. Lewis Center for Personal Development at ASU Barret Honors College, lost her job last month on what she called a politically motivated move for organizing an event earlier this year titled Health, Wellness, and Happiness with conservative commentators Dennis Prager and Charlie Kirk. I would have loved to go to that as a student. I would have loved to go to that. Arizona State says she lost her job because the center lost funding and that the event in question was well attended and successful. That's bull. That's bull. However, millionaire Tom Lewis, sponsor of the TW Lewis Center, said that he pulled his annual $400,000 in funding for the center after he saw faculty and staff at the Barret College espouse alarming and outright hostility toward the conservative event. A majority of the Barret faculty members, 37 out of 47, had signed a petition condemning the event before it even began, according to Turning Point USA, a conservative founded by Kirk. After seeing this level of left-wing hostility and activism, I no longer had a confidence in Barret to adhere to the terms of our gift and made the decision to terminate our agreement effective June 30th, 2023, Lewis wrote. After having donated millions to the school, that's M with millions, to the school over the course of more than 20 years. Campus Reform Higher Education Fellow and Political Science Professor Nicholas Gordino told Just the News that his biggest concern was the number of faculty members who signed the petition condemning the event. Quote, when you look at the mindset of the faculty members, they do set an example on college campuses. When we see these students start to shout down speakers when they try to marginalize other student groups, and a lot of it starts with the faculty members and the examples that they're providing on campus themselves, he said on Sunday. Yeah, that's true. Because, students idolize the professors and they, monkey see, monkey do, if you think about it. Last week, Arizona State Republicans announced the launch of a committee to study free speech at public universities in the state and to look at the events surrounding a health and wellness happiness program. That's good. The state lawmakers plan on holding a hearing Tuesday featuring a testimony from Atkinson and Prager, as well as ASU religion and philosophy professor Owen Anderson, a conservative talk show host, and conservative hot show host Seth Leibinson. I probably butchered that. Quote, ASU has more speakers from more points of view than any other organization in Arizona, and we at ASU fight hard to maintain this very important role. Sure. President Michael Crow said, and at the same day, the state Senate announced its investigation. Okay, Michael Crow. Okay. The fact that Arizona has traditionally been a conservative state, but is experiencing a shift and is reflective of a national trend on college campus, Gordino said. We're seeing throughout the United States that there is an increasing intolerance toward the differing viewpoints on college campuses, Gordano said. Unfortunately, it tends to try to censor and marginalize and silence people that are conservative leaning or Republican leaning, and we've been witnessing it getting worse and worse. Yep, that is 150,000% true. So, yeah. That's the article. So, yeah, we see that donors are starting to pull funding because they don't agree with the fact that professors at Barret are turning or are being liberal and are shouting down conservative points. And when it comes to that, in my situation, and free speech, I feel like my freedom of speech was violated because I was basically told to be quiet. I was told I basically have no right to speak on my own situation. And I was told to shut up and be quiet, basically to be seen and not heard. So I feel like ASU is just in the process of indoctrinating students and snuffing out conservative viewpoints because I consider myself not a complete conservative, but I consider myself leaning conservative. Maybe more of a classic liberal, which people see as conservative nowadays. But, you know, I agree with cutting funding because, you show in this world you what's the phrase? You basically you vote with your wallet. There we go. And I'll leave it at that. So, like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Hit that notification bell. It'll really help me with the algorithm. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening to me. Leave a heart in the description if you got this far. And like I said, I'll see you in the next one. Hasta la pasta, baby. Bye.